There we go. A little less crooked. And we are live. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on wherever in the world you are at the moment. Thanks for being here, guys. And thank you for bearing with me. A couple of technical difficulties that we are fixing at the moment. We'll go ahead and get started here in just a sec. I'm going to check settings really fast. Looks good. Video looks good. Audio looks good on my end. If there's any buffering or issues that come up for y'all, just let me know, as always. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Vivian, hello. Good to see you. Francesca, Lauren, Yara, hello. Angie, CA. Fabulous to see everyone. Everyone's weekend is going well so far. I usually give it a moment or so to allow people to come on and enter and get settled in, but I'm going to go ahead and get started and jump on in. Yeah, it looks like whatever was going on earlier seems to have subsided, so we're going to take that. Yes. Welcome, you guys. Thank you for being here and joining for another rendition of Sunday's live Q&As. We go live here every Sunday and we hang out, we talk about the law, and as always, I'm here to answer questions, give clarity on whatever you are curious about so that you can have better understanding and apply these teachings in your life to see the results that you want to see. And really just one announcement before we jump on in, because today is going to have to be a little bit of a shorter session than usual, but if you are interested in any of my resources or working together, all of that is in my description box. My 12-week masterclass, Mindset Mastery Program, is starting officially November 5th. So registration is still going on right now for that. There's a couple of spots left available. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, if you're interested in working together, maybe you're on the one-on-one wait list and you want to get started working together sooner, definitely be sure to check that out, because for those in this round who join, you're going to get my revision masterclass free of charge. That is my gift to you. I go on and on about revision. You guys who have been here have heard me talk about it nonstop for a good reason. So anyways, without wasting time, go check that out. More info down below and how to sign up down below. And no, we're good. Let's go ahead and get started. We already got a number of questions. Good ones. Good ones. I know the kittens are in their nursery today. I do apologize. Last Sunday was a little bit of a circus. So they are currently chilling out. They're napping. I didn't really want to disturb them, but if enough people want me to, I will bring them back next week before they go up for adoption. I think that's only fair to do. Let me see. Good to see all of you too. Oh, Francesca. Missy, this sounds daft. I'm manifesting that my SP kisses me on the lips when we say hi and goodbye, but he still kisses me on the cheek. Even though I am manifesting this. I know it sounds silly. Advice, please. It doesn't sound silly. No, you desire what you desire. There's no need to feel silly about that. If you're not seeing your person showing up in the way that you want him to, if he is still showing behaviors that not entirely ideal or not up to what you want, then make sure that you are paying mindful attention of how you are perceiving him. So, of course, I've talked about a couple of times revising. If the interaction didn't go exactly the way that you wanted it to go, or if it could have gone better, I would make sure that you are revising that he properly gave you a kiss as you greeted, as he left. But Also, just be mindful that that is how, like, you setting the intention that, this is our interaction, this is how he greets, and making sure that you are firmly focused on that versus how you don't want him to be, if that makes sense. It's really easy for us to get persuaded and caught up in the 3D and what they're doing in 3D. We want to be really careful about that. So, really focus on the assumption and reinforcing that assumption that he shows up, he greets you exactly the way that you want him to show up. Lauren, hi, Missy. Can we manifest business success for someone? My father is an attorney and hasn't gotten a check in 8 weeks, and now he's screaming. Oh, can I manifest high paying clients for him? Yes, you can. Absolutely, you can. And we can absolutely manifest for others. I've made a video about it. I probably should make a more recent one because I know that video was one of my first videos that I put out, but absolutely you can manifest for others. And whenever able to, we should. So what would be something that confirms or implies that he has brought on high paying clients? Perhaps he shares the good news with you in imagination. Imagine a scene where the two of you are talking and he's like, business is starting to really pick up again. I've just brought on these clients. Things are going really well. I apologize for yelling at you. That kind of a thing. That's where I would be putting my imaginal scene somewhere, whatever resonates most with you, but absolutely you can. Hi, Missy. I hope you're well. I am well. I hope you are too. I wish to manifest a move to live closer to my son and his family. I have followed many of your tips and advice, but it's not yet happening. Please help. Oh, mm, sorry about that. What we have to be really, really careful that we want to be aware of where our attention is going in the day to day, and that we're not giving more time to dwelling on what we don't want, even if the 3D is showing up in a way that is not ideal, even if it's showing up in a way, in this case, you're not seeing movement in the direction that you want it to go. The real practice here is not letting ourselves feed into that and continue to give attention and breathe life into that. Because if we're continuing to observe and focus on it's not happening, it's not working, nothing's changing, that's what we are bringing into awareness, and that's what continues to be outpictured. So this really is the most important thing in this practice, is turning the attention away from the 3D, not giving our focus to what we don't want to see. As that's what winds up manifesting more of the same old. Yeah, and it is a practice. I know I've seen a couple people in this chat already talk about how that is the hardest part, seemingly. And I would agree with that. I would agree with that. It, and the frustration that comes when we don't see the 3D conforming the way that we want it to conform, it's easy to get upset. It's easy to get frustrated. But the paradox here is that the more attention we give to that, the more we're going to continue to see that, more of what we don't want. So yeah. Where was that? Hi, Missy. How to occupy my desired state when I currently occupy a state of I am stuck and can't get out of the negative, hence I feel unable to occupy a different state. Good question. Good question. Lord, I know what that feels like. How do we move into another state, a more desirable one when we feel stuck, when we feel like we just cannot resonate at all with the idea of what we want, and it feels like we can't move. This is textbook resistance. This is when we have beliefs and assumptions that are in contrast with our desires, when it feels really challenging to accept what we want, like imagine what we want, when that just feels in and of itself difficult to do, that's that's resistance. And really how we move ourselves out of that, I mean, first we don't try to force it, we don't try to fight it, we don't try to like, wrestle the subconscious mind into submission. Um, the very first thing I would practice is getting into a relaxed and drowsy state. Where relaxation and the drowsy state become really helpful here is when we have resistance. It's when we feel like there's a lot of pushback. Like we try to go to a state in our mind, we try to, imagine something more desirable, but we just can't go there, right? Like our brain is fighting us. It feels like we're fighting ourselves. Like that's when it's most helpful to then just practice getting into a relaxed state. And really again, the reason there is to remove that resistance. When we are in that drowsier state, things can come and feel more natural to us. Yeah. When we're anxious, when we're tense, when we're uptight, that's when it's probably going to feel most difficult. Yeah. Did I miss? Oh, can you explain what the I am meditation is and how to do it? Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. So the I am meditation, well, w- Neville Goddard referred to it as going fishing. And he talked about it in his book, Your Faith is Your Fortune. And so he didn't directly call it the I am meditation. That's a nickname the community gave to it, but it's effectively going into the silence with the intent of, it's kind of, how do I explain this? You're going in not to set an intention, but to actually peel back the layers. You're peeling back the layers of self. So you lay down and you just focus on I am. You focus on saying I am. And not just saying the words for the sake of saying them, but you're just focused on your awareness. So it gets kind of meta here. You're just aware of this awareness. You're just focused on being. And if thoughts are going to come in, thoughts are going to go out, of course, but you're just bringing your attention back to your awareness and saying I am. And the point of that, as Neville describes it, is to remove these conditions of self, these concepts. Like all of us in human form are conditioned consciousness. We all have our beliefs, our assumptions, expectations, identities, what we identify with. And the idea of the I meditation is to sort of, again, just peel all of that back and get to a place where we are just that pure unconditioned consciousness. We are just unconditioned awareness, because that is God. That unconditioned state where there are no attachments, no beliefs, no assumptions, just, and it's going to feel expansive. It's going to feel like you are more than your body. Like you're going to feel that overwhelming sense of peace. You're going to feel that subtle, it's difficult to even put it into words, but you're not going to feel confined to your old beliefs, your circumstances, your memories, like none of that is going to be able to get in the way, so to speak. So once we reach this place where it feels expansive, we've sort of peeled back those layers of self. From there, you can then condition whatever you would want to experience. So you would then say, I am loved, or I am successful, I am abundant, whatever condition you want, whatever the concept that you want to be attached to, that's when you would start to condition that from that more unconditioned state, that unconditioned self. He talks about it further in Your Faith is Your Fortune. I believe it's chapter 22. It's the chapter titled Fishing. So I would definitely read that chapter and kind of get more of an idea of what he was talking about there. I've been in awareness. I feel like I have all my desires there, but how do we stay there? Well, you do have all your desires there because you are everything. As that unconditioned consciousness, you're not limited to anything. Hi, Missy. How do you know that you've planted the seed? I do my sats regularly and it feels nice. And outside of that, I live my life. I guess I don't know if I've successfully impressed it. Good question. You'll know that you've planted that seed or left that impression. I mean, number one, you will notice a shift in feeling, like you will notice that internal shift. You will feel, when it comes to your desire, you're going to feel more satisfied. You're going to feel not so longing for it. You're going to notice a change in your thoughts, how you react in the day to day. Like those are your biggest indicators. Like that's why Neville enforced over and over to pay attention to your inner talking. Pay attention to that inner monologue or inner dialogue if you talk to other people in your mind. But that tells us like what state we're occupying, or what are we are if we still have attachments to that old story or that new story. But you're going to notice a change in your internal world and how you feel. You're going to feel less anxious, specifically around what you desire. Yeah. Kelly, welcome. Happy Sunday. Good evening from Italy. Good evening. Thank you for being here. Where's my spot? Missy, did Neville ever say anything about karma? Does believing in karma unfocus that you're the operant power? Good question. Um, I'm trying to remember if I know there was a lecture too. He's mentioned the word karma, but I mean, as far as like the laws of karma, like what goes around comes around. That's not inherently a fact. Um, I mean, a lot of times that is what happens. Like if we do bad, bad things will happen to us, or if somebody does something bad, bad things might follow them, or good things, or vice versa. But um, it really comes down again to like what you are assuming, what you are believing about yourself and other people. So like if you are fully convinced, or have conviction of karma, then that's going to be your experience. You're going to experience having that be the case. I hope that makes sense. This law amazes me more and more every day. Is it okay if I send my revision success story through our email coaching as well? Absolutely. Yeah. Send all the success stories. I love it. Especially revision. Oh, I love revision success stories. I'm gonna need to make a part 2 revision success story video. Hi, Missy. I've been revising like crazy and it feels so good. But I cry unusually often, not because of victim mode, but more out of releasing. Does this happen to you or others too? Feels a bit weird. That happened to me. That happened to me. I mean, I can't speak for everyone uh, who's revised. Um, that certainly happened to me. Like I was just it was almost releasing. It was cathartic, just getting it out. Um, absolutely. Thank God for YouTube reminders. Good to have you here. Can you please give tips on how to deal with anxiety when manifesting? Like just calm down and trust. Absolutely. And I have made a recent video about this topic, like dealing with anxiety while manifesting. If you type up in the search bar Missy Renee anxiety while manifesting, that should pop up. But I mean, first thing, if we're noticing a lot of anxiety, that we can do for some immediate relief is things like breath work, taking some nice, slow, deep breathing. A lot of people swear by EFT tapping. If you're able to, you know, lay down and just do some body scanning and scan for areas of tension, deliberately release it, or things like going for a walk, listening to your favorite music, watching your favorite show, and whatever that may be to help alleviate some of that and help maybe shut off the fight or flight response a little bit. Um, but I mean, the bigger picture is where faith is important, like and why, like a broken record, I talk all the time about building faith and building trust in this law, because that is where a lot of it, and not just faith in the law and that it works, but faith in yourself as the operator of this law in your reality. Yeah, yeah. But definitely check out the video I made talking more about anxiety and how to deal with it on this journey. I thought you'd be an hour later. Time change. Oh, okay. That's probably, yeah, it's not yet daylight savings over here in the States. So sorry about that confusion. I think next Sunday will be next Sunday? I think it's next Sunday is gonna be daylight savings over here. How can I revise someone else's past without focusing on the 3D? Mm, how can I revise someone else's past? Well, because I guess I'm a little confused on the question, Ronnie, but, if I'm understanding correctly, I mean, to revise is to change the past, essentially. So, if you're talking about current 3D circumstances and not focusing on that, I mean, the aim and goal of revision is to change the circumstances, or specifically how we are believing and assuming what we are believing and assuming about these current circumstances. So even if you do need to, um, if initially it's, and I know that there is aversion to the idea of revision because, I mean, number one, there's a lot of hard time trusting the idea of changing the past, but also we're just not cool with the idea of revisiting crappy events that happened, which is understandable. But in this case, it is for the, express purpose of changing that. So if we don't revise the past, if we keep things the way that they were, the past doesn't stay in the past. It advances forward into the future and confronts us again. And Neville talked about this extensively. So even though there may be that initial fear of like, oh God, I don't want to visit this area, I don't want to revisit this memory. If that means that you can uproot that event, if you can plant something new, if you can impress something new so that you are no longer anxious about this thing, it's worth it. It's worth it. And then my next video is going to be another revision video going into a lot more detail about a lot of the most common questions that I get. Marie. Hi, beautiful. Good to have you here. Hi, Missy. I've been struggling with intrusive thoughts about my SP. They are the same fears. I then start to spiral thinking these painful thoughts will come to pass in the 3D. Oh, I hate him. I'm in a loop of spiral. This is without question one of the, unfortunately, in this community, especially, we can get so fearful of our thoughts because a lot of times we hear that your thoughts create. If you have a negative thought, oh God, what if you impress it? Now it's going to manifest in the 3D. That's not inherently the case because your thoughts are not the operant power here. You are the operant power here. As in, even if you do have negative thoughts coming in, even if you do spiral, even if you have a bad day, you can always uproot that. You can always revise it. You can always turn that around. Like at the end of the day, being the operant power means it's up to you and you are not at the mercy of any circumstance or any thoughts. Period, point blank. I've made a video talking about this in more detail, like how to deal with intrusive thoughts and how do we navigate negative thinking. I definitely check out that video if you haven't seen it yet. But the bottom line is we are more powerful than our thoughts. Like, we do not need to feel at the mercy of our, like, oh God, because I had this negative thought, it's going to manifest. No, it doesn't. Not unless you say so. But you have the say. You have the ultimate say as the operant power. Yeah, definitely check out that video. Yeah, a lot of people are apprehensive about revision, understandably so. When I first learned about revision, I thought it was nutty. I thought it was total whack job talk. And even after I started learning from Neville and applying his teachings, there was a part of me that was avoiding revision like the plague. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're not alone in that. Happy Sunday on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you, Mohammed. Good to see you, sir. I have a question regarding revision. I recently revised a memory of mine, and I felt the relief, the wish fulfilled. I felt as if it was done. However, when I try to keep revising that same memory, I can't revise the same memory. It feels physically impossible since I felt done with it in the first sat scene. Should I keep trying or move on to the next memory? Move on to the next one. No, that's good. If you feel like you cannot revise it further, then you don't need to. That means it's done. That means yeah. And how you described it there, that feeling of relief that followed, yeah. But if it feels like a lot of resistance trying to go back and revise it again, it's because you don't need to. Love that. When manifesting increases, is it best to be general, like I am financially free, or specific, like I make 10K a month? Good question. I mean, ideally, if there is something specific that you want, then you want to be as specific and clear as possible. Like if you, for example, desire to, start a business on a certain, in a certain area, a certain niche, something that gives you joy, gives you purpose, uh, then and you have a specific amount of money that you want to see coming in, then you can do that. You can absolutely do that. If ultimately your desire is to be financially free and whatever that looks like, however that happens, you're like, I'm cool with it as long as it doesn't hurt nobody, then you can be general. So it really is, you know, comes down to what you desire. And is it something specific? Like, do you desire to be a best-selling author? And that's how you want to come into your, financial abundance. But if you're just open to whatever comes your way, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Suzanne also had the question about karma. I hear it spoken about like it's universal revenge. I think since everyone is you pushed out, it doesn't really exist. Yeah, like on its own, no. Can I manifest better behavior from my puppy? She's really misbehaving. Yeah, yeah. Puppies are little tornadoes on four legs. Yes, you can absolutely you can manifest better behavior from your puppy. Yeah. Like see her the way that you want in your mind's eye. See her as, being calm and being very responsive to you and you're, sit, stay, she can do tricks, whatever you want it to look like. But yes, you can absolutely manifest better behavior. That's so cute. Hey, Missy, how do I fully achieve this state of feeling blessed and not slip to my subconscious old patterns? The old patterns are quite strong. The new me feels weak at times. And that's kind of the point of persistence. That's going to be the case for the vast majority of people because we are creatures of habit. Humans are very much pattern oriented. So, especially for patterns and old beliefs that have been, reinforced for years, if not decades, it can feel quite difficult or weak to, occupy and maintain a new state. That's normal. That's normal. And that's what I try to like reassure people all the time. You may fall out of that new state. You might find yourself reverting back to old habits, old subconscious patterns. That is normal. That is the ego doing its job effectively, which is why we continue to return to that new state 70 times 7, as Neville would say. We continue to return to that new state until we do not need to consciously or deliberately focus anymore. Like we'll just start naturally going there. We really need to practice reinforcing that new state because at first it's not going to feel very familiar. It's going to feel foreign. It's going to feel weird. And we may not maintain it for very long. But the more that we go back there, the more we continue to 70 times 7, then you'll just subconsciously do it. Then it will just be an aspect of you. It will be part of your conception of self. Yeah. This is normal. Hi, I feel like I still have someone in my mind and I have feelings for him. How to know if I should heal and move on or if that's okay to manifest him, manifest a specific version of him only. I mean, it's whatever your preference would. But if you desire to be with someone specific, you can. You absolutely can. Um, by healing and moving on. I mean, if you feel like you wanted to do that instead, you could. It really, what do you desire? That's the first question we want to ask ourselves. What do I desire to experience without conditions? Like, don't try to condition it. Don't try to, look at the obstacles or what might be in the way or why we can't have this person or this, whatever it might be. But if you could have anything, what would that be? And whatever that answer is, that's where you go in imagination. Oh, Miss Ball. Hi, Missy. Any tips for OCD and relationship OCD? Ooh, yeah, yeah. For for things such as OCD, ADHD, um, which I know can feel like a nightmare in and of itself, like trying to keep ourselves from ruminating, overthinking, those compulsions that come up for us. I know it can be incredibly difficult, uh, but a daily meditation practice, even if it's 2 minutes, even if it's 1 minute, anything is better than nothing as far as getting started. Because I know as somebody who was also diagnosed with ADHD and OCD, the thought of meditation used to terrify me. Like the thought of sitting still and being in my own head, I didn't like it. Um, but it is one of the very best things I ever did. And when it comes to this practice, oh man, night and day difference. So, start somewhere that feels maintainable, start somewhere that feels obtainable, start somewhere that feels not too daunting. You don't have to sit for an hour in meditation. But yeah, that daily practice is going to it's going to help. Would you say that it is better to revise an event once we are no longer very emotionally attached to it? Like once some grass grew over it. Thank you so much. It can certainly be helpful. Yeah. Um, I'd say if you're just getting started with revision, maybe you haven't practiced it much, start with things that are not, you know, uh, emotionally charged, things that don't maybe hold a whole lot of significance, things that may feel a bit easier to approach. Yes. Um, or starting with just the last 24 hours, revising at the end of the day, the last 24 hours, just to start getting into the practice of it. Because as you get more into the practice of it, and it becomes more and more familiar, and it becomes more and more like your mind's going to start knowing what to do. You're going to be able to approach things that maybe once before you would not be able to. Yeah. We don't need to torture ourselves by trying to, yeah. Revision and living in the end without getting lost in the 3D is hard. It can certainly feel difficult, yes. That is the practice here. That is the practice here, which goes against everything that we've always done. No pressure. Hey, Missy, could you please share whether or not it'd affect my manifestation if every time my desire comes to my mind, my immediate thought is the old story slash the opposite, but immediately affirm back? Whether it affect your manifestation? Well, I mean, if you're noticing the old story coming up, but you are redirecting yourself, yeah, that is ideal. Like not ruminating on what you don't want or the things that were not ideal. Absolutely, that would be ideal. Um, Now, if it feels like you're fighting yourself a lot, if it's starting to feel exhausting, countering these thoughts, uh, you don't have to do so. Like to be clear, but if you are noticing a lot of intrusive thoughts, you can always come back and revise those later. You can always come back at the end of the day and revise. You don't if it helps to affirm the opposite, if it helps to counter it, if it helps to flip it, so to speak, and you're noticing that it helps you to feel better, then absolutely you can. But where I just want to, you know, just gentle caution is don't burn yourself out. Don't burn yourself out. But it is normal and that will change. You are welcome. And yeah, a lot of us tend to burn ourselves out. I certainly did. Rule number one, take care of our mental health. Hi, Missy. Do you have any advice for erasing events slash memories through revision? A lot of revision questions today. I love it. Yeah, I have a few videos that I've made already on revision. So if you are not super familiar with the topic, um, and just want some general advice and things like that, definitely in the search bar, just Missy Renee revision. and those should pop right up. Yeah. Oh, what? Where? I'm trying to find my spot. Sorry, guys. So happy to finally catch a live. Can you touch on the feeling in detachment, where it feels uncomfortable to no longer do anything? It feels weird and unnatural, but it also feels like the seed is planted. Yep. Yeah. No. And that will pass. That feeling of like uncomfort, that's the ego wanting to do things. That's like I need to do more tasks. I need to check more boxes. If I'm just sitting here, then nothing's going to happen. That's all ego. That's ego talking. And that will subside. That sort of like uncomfortable, what next kind of feeling, that will subside. Yeah. If it feels done, trust that it is. Trust that it is. 11. Good morning. Another email coming today. Many successes in the last couple weeks. Yeah. What quick motivational advice do you have for boosting patience while I know I'm on the bridge? 3D is kicking my oh uh patience while you know you're on the bridge. Uh Really, I know. It is so easy for us to become distracted by the 3D. And this is where things are unfolding and we're getting excited and then we're like, okay, I want it to hurry up now and go faster. We have to catch ourselves when we're doing it. We got to catch ourselves and remind ourselves, nope, like go back to the end. Like in here, just go back to the end, turn your attention. A lot of this is really just learning to like disciplining the mind so that we can be more direct with our attention, our focus, where we are dwelling. Yeah. And just the reassurance, like remind yourself, this is already finished. This is already like the more I mess with this seed, the longer it's going to take for it to finally sprout and grow. If I leave that seed alone and let it do its thing, everything will come just fine. Missy, once we imagine our desired scene, is it inevitable it will get pushed out in the 3D? Do all our imagined scenes and desires manifest? Good question. I'm trying to remember. I did a video talking about this. So, does everything that we imagine come to pass? I mean, no, that would probably look a bit chaotic if it if that were the case. Um, is it inevitable it would get pushed out in the 3D? What becomes out pictured in the 3D is our beliefs and our assumptions, our concept of self. Like that is what manifests. And the concept of self is again what we believe and assume to be true about ourselves, about others, and the world around us. So the point of the imaginal acts is to get familiar with the experience of having what you want so that it feels more natural, so that it feels more believable, so that it feels more enjoyable. That's what gets pushed out. Neville used to say, you know, we don't manifest what we desire, we manifest what we believe and assume to be true. So, yeah. Hi, Missy. Even when you were 100% sure and in the Sabbath, did you ever have days or even just hours where intrusive slash bad thoughts crept in and tried to knock you out of the Sabbath? Good question. Um, remember if they knocked me out of the Sabbath. I did, just out of habit, I did have a few moments where an old thought would come in. But the huge distinction was there was no attachment. Like there was no reaction. It almost felt weird to have that intrusive thought. Like it didn't belong there. So I didn't react to it. I wasn't it was kinda just like when we have a really bizarre thought that we're like, "That's just ridiculous." It kinda felt like that. So, yeah, I mean, technically speaking, there were a few times that old thought just from pure habit, just from old pattern, but where I was dwelling, I no longer resonated with that. So there wasn't any kind of reaction to it. I hope that makes sense, if I understood correctly. Is perfectionism a limiting belief? How do you mean? Like the idea that we need to be perfect, or I'm curious to know what you mean, Kyle. Um, I know perfectionism can certainly be something that hinders us on this journey because, I mean, the point as humans is that we're not perfect. That's literally the entire point. Where's my spot? Is that still locked, Bella? It shouldn't be. I gotta go see what's going on there because it should not be. I am so sorry. Let me take a look at what's going on right after this live. Hi, Missy. How should I deal with the brain that naturally ruminates over the old story? No matter what I do, those thoughts are always there. Yep. And I know that this part can feel really, really annoying. Um, I think a lot of people can resonate and relate to this one, depending on a variety of factors. Yeah, our brains are sort of wired to want to ruminate. Um, this will change as you continue to recondition that self concept. The point here, the objective, no matter what we want to manifest, no matter what the desire is, the objective is always change the self, changing the self concept. So all of the techniques, all of the practices, the exercises is for the purpose of changing how we feel. Because what we want to start to notice is that less and less are we having these ruminating thoughts, we're having these intrusive thoughts. Or if we do notice intrusive thoughts coming in, we're not reacting to them in the same way that we once were because we don't have attachment to them. We're not identifying with those limiting beliefs. So, I mean, in the day-to-day hours, if you are noticing a lot of rumination, first just try to catch yourself, and if you are able to, redirect. Oh, redirect your focus. Perhaps, put something on, music, something enjoyable, something maybe uplifting. If it feels like it's still constantly coming up, we don't want to fight it. We don't want to try to fight with ourselves. We don't want to try to wrestle with them because it's all just feedback, anyways. You know, the thoughts and more specifically how we are reacting to the thoughts, is all just feedback, letting us know, there may still be attachment to these beliefs. There may still be some attachment there to this old story, which is fine if that's the case. Is we can always change that. We can always recondition that. But I think the biggest thing that people try to do in the day-to-day hours when they notice rumination or intrusive thoughts is they panic and they try to fight back against it. And that's what can quickly lead to burnout. So this is normal. And as you continue to practice going to the end, as you continue to turn to imagination, to experience what you desire and really allow yourself to go there and feel into that to the best of your ability, less and less you're going to notice these kind of thoughts coming up for you. Yeah. Missy, can a manifestation ever be ruined? How do we stop ourselves from trying to control the 3D with our own actions? Good questions. No, your manifestation cannot be ruined. In terms of like messing something up to the point where you can't fix it or you can't turn it around, that's not possible. That's not possible. It is possible for us to effectively delay our manifestation, but we can't ruin it, anything like that. How do we stop ourselves from trying to control the 3D with our own actions? I mean, it's really, we have to remind ourselves, and we really have to reinforce, you know, as man, I can do nothing, but with God, all things are possible, which means like as the human thinking mind, as that ego mind, any actions that I try to take from that very limited, scarce and scared mindset is not doing myself any favors. Because again, we're not going to know what the bridge of events looks like. We're not going to know when things start to unfold for us. And the ego hates this. That part of us that's very into the idea of having control, having things feel like certain, feeling like we're ahead of the curve. That part of us hates not knowing. And so we have to get in there, we have to take actions, we have to try to figure this out, maybe tweak or manipulate things in the 3D just a little. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then once again, this is where, as we continue to build our faith in this, that urge to want to go take that action or do that thing will subside. I have a question about getting excited slash expecting something to happen versus living in the end. Is it okay to get excited in expectation? Or is it contrary? Is that contradictory if we already have it? Well, I mean, I don't want to say that it's a bad thing if you occasionally catch yourself feeling excited for something that, you know, might happen. That that is normal. But if you already had something, would you be excited about getting it? Probably not. Probably not. Also, good to see you, Jetta. Hi, Missy. What is behind intuition that both me and SP will end up with different people, not together? Good question. And I just released a video yesterday talking about intuition. So definitely watch that if you have not seen it yet, because your intuition is it's your belief. Like That is the, I guess, like that physical signal, that gut feeling, that hunch. It's your beliefs and assumptions. So if your intuition is telling you that, it's probably, well, it is because that is a belief that you have. But regardless of that fact, you can change it. You do not have to accept that that is true just because you believe it is or your intuition says it is. Definitely watch the video that I released. Intuition is feeling it real, basically, like quite literally. Hi, Missy. I have this issue about bringing my imaginal acts. I'm looping my scene, but then suddenly when I drift off, it suddenly gets disrupted by other thoughts. I get frustrated. Yeah, no, I you mean getting distracted or having other thoughts popping in when you're trying to do your scene? That's normal. That's normal. I know. With practice, it does become easier for us to like keep our attention on our scene. And it's one of the reasons why Neville recommended having a very short scene in sats and looping it is so that we have less of a chance of our mind starting to wander off in some other direction. It is going to take a little bit of practice getting used to, but if your mind does wander, you can always just gently redirect it back. Yeah. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is that with practice, that's no longer going to be a thing that keeps happening. Hey, Missy, I was really inspired by your personal SP story. Thank you. And I'm going through the same thing. Mm. How did you drop the old story of your SP? A lot of revision. Like specifically, a lot of revision. Um, but that the point of this practice is to do just that. The point of the techniques is to do just that. Changing the story around our circumstances with our person and or anything in general it is to change that specifically, which is I say it over and over, like the point of the techniques is not to change the 3D, it's to change self, it's to change that old story and how we are internalizing things, how we are perceiving things, what we are believing, because the 3D is the byproduct of whatever that is. Like if I change the story, the byproduct is the 3D will change. You can come back from any 3D event. You can come back from any 3D circumstance. It doesn't matter. When we say that circumstances don't matter, that's not just a buzz phrase. Like that, genuinely speaking, it does not matter. It doesn't matter. You can see things reconditioned and turn around. Period. What to do when it feels like your ego is fighting with you and you're trying to go back to the state of the wish fulfilled? Ugh, I know that's so frustrating. Um, in that moment, I wouldn't fight it. Like, don't try to fight and wrestle with it. It's all feedback. It's all just like we're gathering feedback. We're gathering, okay, what state am I dominantly occupying? Like, what is that resistance? If there is resistance, what's that little inner critic saying? So that I am aware of where I'm occupying more often than not. And then we want to practice getting ourselves like if there is a lot of resistance, I think I mentioned this near the start of the stream, but maybe you weren't here. If there's a lot of resistance, this is where first getting ourselves into a more relaxed state, even a drowsy state, can be more helpful. Missy is everything around me, my assumption, my religion, the society I live in. Yes. Our world is us pushed out. Our world and everything in it is ourself pushed out. Hi, Missy. Sometimes I'll get this warm, fuzzy feeling of knowing when looking at a photo of my SB, and I can't help but smile and be like, ah, yes, she's mine. That's cute. I love that. I love that. That is what we want. Hi, Missy. What is the best way to change our beliefs? I'm aware of some of my limiting beliefs that hinder me at times, but I don't know how to change them. Safer engaging in a conscious train of thought. Good question. We change our beliefs through the aid of imagination. That's where imagination comes in. Our creative power. We change our beliefs through imagining ourselves experiencing the things that we want to experience. We form this belief through our experiences, right? In the same way, in imagination, where there is no limitations, there is nothing that is an obstacle, there's nothing that can tell you no, you can experience what you desire to the point where it starts to feel convincing for you. It starts to feel believable for you. So really that the point of the imaginal acts is just that. Is there anything that helped you get over the final hurdle of being consistent in your practice? What ultimately eliminated the double-mindedness? Good question. I don't remember if there was like a thing that happened exactly. One thing that I did, and I think I've made a video talking about this, but I did reach at one point like a fork in the road where I knew I had to either go all in on this or walk away from this. And it was after I first read Neville's lecture, The Pearl of Great Price. And, where he makes it very clear, like, and he says all the time, you cannot serve two masters. We can't keep going back and forth and back and forth. Um, so even just the act alone of giving myself the choice, the option of saying, All right, we can either go all in or we can walk away, but it has to be one or the other. Something about that approach, I don't know, maybe appeasing my ego because I had a choice. Um, it did make it easier for me to make a selection that way. Instead of trying to force myself to believe something when maybe I didn't. I hope I'm making sense with that. I hope I'm making sense, but it really comes back to buying that pearl, and at some point, we have to. Time does not exist, stop checking the 3D, and persist in what you want. Well said. Exactly right. What to do if SP came back, but he's seeing multiple people? Oh, I wouldn't accept that last part. I would revise that last part. Mhm. How or when do we use an affirmation? I'm a bit confused on that one. Good question. And I mean, you're probably going to hear you know, uh, different takes on affirmations. I personally don't use them, but there are people who swear by them and have had amazing success with them. So if they help you, if they help to keep you focused or resonate, then absolutely. Uh, my this is just me and my what has helped me when I have used revision or I'm sorry affirmations when I have used affirmations, as long as I would word them in a way that felt believable, relatable, or just something that I can get behind. When I tried to affirm something that felt so abstract and just something I could not believe whatsoever, that's where I noticed a lot of that anxiety coming in, a lot of that pushback. It wasn't for me. So I would use affirmations that feel good, that help you to feel better, that help you to feel like you can get behind your wish fulfilled. And when do you use them? Preferably when you are in a relaxed or drowsy state. Oh, thank you, Louise. I'm glad. Good. Oh, let me see. Hi, Missy. I'm confused with one thing Joseph Murphy said. He mentioned in one of his lectures, love should only be reciprocated, and to make someone try to love you is crazy. I'm trying to remember if I've heard him say something similar. I don't know if he was referring to love though. I think what he is trying to imply there is like chasing after, manipulating people. Like the things that we may go through in the 3D to try to get somebody to like us, he's saying, don't do that. Don't play games. Don't try to manipulate. Don't try to chase somebody. Um, Focus instead on being loved. Focus on the reciprocation of that here. I mean, I would need to see like the exact context or what lecture he was mentioning that in, but yeah, because we can't. This isn't about trying to make somebody do something through manipulation or anything like that. to be abundantly clear. All right. Oh, and man, when visualizing living in the end with my SP, is it better to imagine marriage or old age together? Oh, I mean, I think it's feels whatever feels more enjoyable, or you can do both. They kind of imply the same thing. Yeah, like, I mean, that's my take. Because to imagine being married, I would hope implies that you're going to grow old together, right? Unless we assume otherwise, and maybe if that feels like the case, might want to unpack that. What to do with anxiety caused by if we don't feel our desire, it will never manifest. Hmm. Well, I mean, the first thing that we want to do is if we're feeling anxious, breathe. If nothing else, we want to breathe. We want to remember to just help ourselves first and foremost, try to calm down. In that moment, it may feel difficult to do, but whatever, if there are things that you have found in your day to day that helps you when you're feeling anxious, I would be applying those and first getting yourself back to even a neutral state, because we're putting a lot of fear and we're giving our power to a lot of factors that doesn't need to be the case. By feeling, that's just going into your imagination and experiencing whatever that thing is that you desire, just allowing yourself to experience that and accepting that is true. Like, allow yourself to have the experience and say, like, as if this is really happening. Like, let yourself get lost in it. And at first, it is gonna feel, well, for some people, it might feel a little bit weird. It's different. We're not familiar with it. Even Neville said, it's like, wearing a new pair of shoes. At first, it might feel stiff, it might feel awkward, but the more that we put those shoes on and break them in, before you know it, it's the most comfortable thing in the world for you. But if we wanna be mindful of these conditions of, "Oh, if this, then that. If this, then that." We can get lost up here forever if we continue to entertain those. At the end of the day, in your experience, the experience that you're having, the reality that you are perceiving right now, you are the operant power. You decide always. You are never not deciding. So be mindful of what you are deciding. And on that note, you guys, I do unfortunately need to get going. I got to go feed some hungry kittens and check up on emails and all that fun stuff. But I do hope you all have a lovely rest of your Sunday. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining me. If I didn't get to your question, I do sincerely apologize, but rest assured, we do this every Sunday. So I hope you join next time. In the meantime, take care, you guys. Be well. Much love to all of you. Bye now.